All right. So you are circling and circling the other way. Okay, we don't often do the middle one, but if you keep the lower still and you just kind of stir the thoracic area, it changes the way you use your low back, and kind of informs that QL in a different way, the quadratus muscle, and circling the other way. And it is also a learned thing. It may be like at first it's hard for you to figure out how to do it, but since when we do Tai Chi, we don't move the hips around, when we may change the direction of the arms to do this circling, to be able to learn how to use the muscles in that way. And then last, ear to the shoulder, relax forward, ear to the shoulder, turn the palm out. All right, let's do a little bit of the warm up, the hip warm up. So I'm kind of liking that when we're sitting in the horse stance, to actually do the hips while you're in the horse stance, because the fact of the matter is you're going to do more of your hip changes while in a stance. So this is very different than taking your hips and circling them in the middle of your body while you're in a normal standing posture. So side to side glides. It's a very nice way to get a little bit more mobility in the hip socket. And then tailbone down, tailbone back and tailbone under. So anterior, posterior pelvic tilt. We're always trying to find that level pelvis as we're moving through the form, but that means that there's a constant change in the hip joints to be able to keep bringing the center of the pelvis to the center of the earth. Constant language going on inside the hip joints, and then trying to go across the diagonal, a little bit different information. And then going across the other way. And then go back to circling. Hopefully just feels like, oh, it's looser in the joint. And then circle in the other direction. Okay, so we're going to do the thoracic, principal movements. So holding the arms out, we're just push out through your elbows, wrists, and fingers, and let yourself stretch fingertip to fingertip, and then soften and come back in. The elbows bend, the fingertips come in. You want to push out through your elbows like you have opposing energy in order to keep this open space. A little elbow push out and fingertip coming in. So here we start with the vertical direction, and again, I'm isolating my waist movement. There's some folding at my hips, but I'm mostly trying to get the stretch in my low back. I don't really have a change going on in my knees. Okay, so this really isolate the low back, and then the upper back, and low back, and upper back. It teaches you how to keep your stability in your lower body, though your upper body is changing. And it's a great stretch for the low back and opening up the chest. And then we go into rotation. So low back, middle back, upper back. Turning the heart towards maybe your baby toe on that foot. And then adding a little bit of an imaginary push through your elbow and turning your head. to look over that elbow. It just gets a little bit more action in the upper part of your spine through the cervicals to the head. And again, I'm really watching that my lower body feels like it's really rooted so that my upper body can have more expression of turn and change. Okay, and then I'm going to do side bend, side bend. Side bendability. And again, if it feels too crunchy to come down on one side, instead think of lengthening from your hip to your armpit. And that'll actually give you a little bit more fold from your thorax rather than just in your lower waist area. But it's still side bending the spine. All these things are kind of essential to keep, that spinal health and the nerve roots free. So the joints need to move in every direction that they're designed to move. Okay, so then we've got every direction we go into circling. Open the back, side bend and rotate. Open the chest, side bend and rotate. Open the low back. Okay, then we're gonna go the other way. And then come back up. Okay, so hopefully you just feel everything in your upper body circulating more easily, which helps your spine to lift and lengthen. So we can work on balance. So balance we're going to leave the arms out of it for the moment. Of course, when I level my pelvis, that's the first thing, getting the pelvic floor to face the center of the earth. Little bit of core, little open of the back. So I want to find the middle way. Turn, shift. Think about you sitting on open joint spaces. You feel the internal lift, but enough of the openness of your back and enough bend to your knee to feel the sinking energy into the earth. It's both. So I go crown over, tail over foot. I drop my tailbone a little bit more just to facilitate this knee bending and rising and picking up the knee. So I know that I beat you guys over the head with this crown over, tail over foot, but it really means take your head, keep it over your thorax, and keep that over your pelvis, and then move the whole thing to the middle of your foot. And as I move to that foot, I need to open up my lower back more as I go over to the foot. Once I found that position, then feel that lengthening of your lower back as you pick up your knee in front of you. Because again, this is not just, the knee isn't just going up, but as far as being out in space, the energy is going out and up. So drop the tailbone and relax the back more as the leg goes out in front of you. So I'm going to open my back to send my knees forward in space. I want to turn my foot. You open up both hips. You want to separate hip from hip internally. Both hip joints, I just do this with my hands. Both hip joints are externally rotating against one another. Then I shift my weight crown over, tail over foot. Feel a little more length through your cervicals, through your spine, the down and the up, the tailbone going down. And now, relax the back as though you're sitting on a stool so that you can send the weight of that leg forward. I mean, that's a lot of things. All right, so I'm going to just say that again. I'm going to open my back to send my knees forward. And I'm going to take both hip joints and rotate them away from each other. Then I might move my head towards my foot and then say, oh, but I have to get my pelvis in under here. Really drop my tailbone down, feel the masses line up. You can check that by just picking up your heel. Okay, a little bit more draw down from your tailbone, which is going to be equal to a draw up in your crown. And now, as though somebody put a stool in here and you could relax your back a little bit more to be able to bring the leg forward in space as well. Lots of things to think about. So we're going to go to do the other side. Okay, so I'm just in standing. I need to relax the back to send the knee forward in space. And then both hips. You want to split one hip from the other. You deepen your feeling of keeping that knee with the toe. There's a slight rotation of your pelvis, so the hip is externally rotating inside the socket. I might open this hip and move over, and my head might find my foot, but then I need to make sure that the pelvis gets in between my head and my foot. Okay, you know you want to pick up this leg, so you think more energy down through your tailbone, but more energy up equally through your crown. Okay, so now I've got tailbone down, crown up. Okay, more energy down in the tail, and then relax the middle of your lumbars. That energy is going back to send the leg forward. Okay, we'll do this one more time on this side. Okay, energy opens back slightly to send the knees forward slightly. Both hip joints are opening against one another, splitting energy. I'm aligning, so my head might get to my foot first, but then I want to relax the inside of my pelvis to allow the pelvis to drop in between my head and my foot. But then it's draw down through your tail and up through your crown. That helps your alignment. And then relax the back to send the knee forward. Okay. So one last time, I open the back and let the knees go forward. I open the hips against one another. So you want to feel the activity inside this hip joint as you make the obvious outside movement with your leg. Just pick up your heel. You can feel that as you open up the hip first, right? As you get your head to your foot, picking up your heel and letting your hips relax, your pelvis relax, so you get the pelvis in between your head and your foot. And making sure you have enough alignment over that foot, a little bit more down through your tailbone and up through your crown. Just feel the length of that. That helps you to find a good core alignment. And then relax as though you're sitting on a stool to bring your leg up, forward into space. All right. So there's a continual down as the knee comes up, but there's also a relaxing of the mid-low back in order to send the energy forward. So the way to self-correct, if you're practicing, your form well enough, if you're having a problem in any one place, ask yourself, what is the major direction of the action? And then search for the equal and opposite reaction. If my fingers want to come in, my elbows have to go out. I keep my structure. Okay, and then of course there's the constant lift from the spine and opening up the low back and lifting up at the base of your skull, which keeps your axial skeleton open. So keeping the internal open. All right.